All right, let's dive deep into one of the most dramatic and foundational stories in the entire Bible, the first Passover, straight out of Exodus chapter 12. It is an intense story of crisis, a divine command, and ultimately, deliverance, all packed into one single fateful night.
But that leads to a pretty wild question, doesn't it? How can one meal, a very specific, carefully prepared dinner, eaten in a hurry, literally be the difference between life and death for a whole nation? Well, that's the central mystery we're going to unpack right now.
So to really get this, you have to picture the scene. The people of Israel are slaves in Egypt. God has sent a whole series of plagues, but Pharaoh still won't let them go. Now we're on the brink of the final, most devastating plague of all, and Moses and Aaron get this incredibly specific, incredibly urgent message from God.
Now, this first command sounds kind of like a simple calendar update, but it's so much more than that. This is a total reset. For our people who've only ever known slavery, this is God saying, your life starts now. It's a brand new beginning, the birth of a nation, and it's all kicking off with day one of a new year.
And with this new beginning comes the absolute core of the story, the ritual itself. And listen, these are not just some friendly suggestions. These are precise, detailed, life-saving instructions. Every single part of it matters.
You can really break the whole thing down into 4 critical actions. First, you have to select the perfect lamb. Then it has to be slaughtered at a very specific time, twilight. The third, and maybe most famous step, is using its blood to mark the doorways of your house. And finally, you have to eat the meal, but according to a really strict set of rules. And the details here are just fascinating. The lamb couldn't be just any animal. It had to be a 1-year-old male with no defects, no blemishes at all. It symbolized perfection, the absolute best a family could give. And get this. They had to choose it on the 10th day of the month, but then bring it into their home and care for it for 4 days. This made it personal. This wasn't just livestock. It was an intentional, intimate sacrifice. And that brings us to the most crucial and, let's be honest, shocking part. The blood wasn't just washed away. It had a job to do. It was to be painted on the doorframes of every single Israelite home. It was meant to be a visible sign, a clear marker to the outside world of who is inside.
The meal itself was also loaded with meaning. The lamb was roasted over a fire. It was eaten with bitter herbs, a powerful physical reminder of the bitterness of their slavery. And then there's the unleavened bread. It's a huge deal. On one level, it shows how quickly they had to leave, right? No time to let the dough rise. But it's also called the bread of affliction, a humble food that represented their suffering.
And it wasn't just what they ate, it was how they ate it. This was not a relaxed family dinner. No leftovers were allowed. Anything that wasn't eaten had to be burned by morning. And they had to eat ready to go, cloaks tucked in, sandals on their feet, staff in hand. This was a meal on the move, eaten with the full expectation of leaving at a moment's notice.
So, the preparations are done, the instructions have been followed to the letter, and now, the story builds to its terrifying climax. The Israelites wait inside their marked homes for the moment they were warned about, the night the Lord would pass through the land of Egypt.
And this slide just perfectly captures the unbelievable contrast of that night. Inside the homes with the blood on the door, there's safety. That blood is the sign of their obedience, and the text says it keeps the destroyer from entering. But outside, for the Egyptians, it's a night of pure devastation, ending with a terrible wailing that echoes across the entire nation.
And just look at how quickly this all unfolds. The whole thing goes down in just a matter of hours. It starts at twilight with the lamb. The families eat, they wait inside their homes, and then at the stroke of midnight, the unthinkable happens. By the time the sun comes up, the line between who followed the command and who didn't is tragically, devastatingly clear.
This right here, this is the promise at the very heart of it all. The protection wasn't random. It was a direct response to a very specific sign. The blood was the visible proof of their faith and their obedience, and that proof is what triggered the act of passing over.
And the scope of this judgment is just staggering. 100% it touched every single Egyptian family. It didn't matter if you were rich or poor, powerful or weak, from Pharaoh's own son in the palace all the way down to the firstborn of a prisoner in the darkest dungeon. No one was exempt.
But here's the thing, this incredible and frankly terrifying night of deliverance, it wasn't meant to be a one-time event. The story doesn't end when the sun comes up. The command wasn't just to experience this, but to remember it forever.
So this single night gives birth to an ongoing tradition that continues to this day, the Festival of Unleavened Bread. It's a whole 7-day festival specifically designed to commemorate the moment the Israelites were brought out of Egypt, locking in the memory of that hasty departure.
And the rules for the festival are designed to make you feel it, to put you right back in that moment. For a whole week, you can't have any yeast in your house at all. Eating that unleavened bread becomes this physical, tangible way to relive the urgency of that first escape. And the text is crystal clear. This isn't optional. It's a lasting ordinance.
And this is just brilliant. The ritual has a teaching tool built right into it. It's designed to make kids ask questions. It creates this perfect, natural moment for parents to tell the story of who they are, where they came from, and how they were saved. It ensures the memory never, ever fades.
So after hearing all of these intense life-or-death instructions, what was the response from the people? Total obedience. The text says they did exactly what the Lord commanded. They got it. They understood the gravity of the situation, and they responded with reverence and worship.
And that brings us to the big picture, right? The first Passover wasn't just a historical event. It became a story. It's the foundational narrative of identity, survival, and freedom, retold year after year after year. And it makes you wonder, how do these powerful origin stories embed themselves so deeply into a culture that they continue to shape and define a people thousands of years down the road?